March Madness in full effect. If you missed Coach Izzo after the game yesterday, what did Tom Izzo tell to Tyson Walker as they make their trip back to NYC? And that's where Tyson's from. And here's what Tom Izzo wants from Tyson.
I know you want to watch him celebrate, but I have to ask about Tyson Walker. You go into the transfer portal and get a kid from New York City. How tough was he tonight?
Well, we're going home. And I told him two things. You get me there. I want a cab ride and one of them big slices of pizza. So that's what Tyson owes me. He can pay for it with his NIL money.
He can pay for it with his NIL money. The postgame there on CBS. Is Tom Izzo gotten a little funnier as he's gotten older? Does he feel a little more?
I mean, just imagine 2 years ago making a joke about a student athlete buying you a slice of pizza.
Oh, well, yeah, things have changed.
Like, thank God. Thank God it's not stuffy
somebody,
college
please
basketball.
think of the children.
I love it. That's hilarious. Good for Tom Izzo. Good for Ryan. Good for Ryan's heart rate also.
Heart rate.
Yeah. It was okay. Got a little sweaty there.
Yeah, the same.
But that's what you'd expect in a tournament game. Like,
Well, yeah, even at the end of that game when there was like 20 seconds left, MSU's up 8. My son, who's 9 years old, just goes, I want to be the first to say Michigan State won the game. And then me and my dad go, not so fast, my friend. We don't celebrate wins until there's zeros on the clock.
Yeah, and
after Iowa, we don't take anything for granted anymore. We wait till triple, quad zeros. Every single zero that you can display on a scoreboard, we want it there.
We want to make sure that guys have already walked through the handshake line. You're going to have to show them the tape of Iowa. And this is why we play until the final whistle there. 69-60, Michigan State Spartans advancing past the Marquette Golden Eagles. And really, I mean, when you think about Michigan State, had you said before the game, Marquette's going to shoot it 11 of 27 from 3, which is right around 41%. Michigan State's going to go 2 for 16 from 3. Could you have even imagined Michigan State would win this basketball game?
No. And to win by 9 is just ridiculous of how game is. But there was a stretch in that second half where it looked like both teams were trying to say, here you go.
Simultaneous knockout?
Because even though Marquette was hitting threes, they had a stretch. I think they had like 5 straight turnovers. And Michigan State wasn't really capitalizing out of that because Marquette's biggest lead throughout the game was 3. So
9 steals in 3 blocks for the Michigan State Spartans.
So, but just the first 2 games, it hasn't been the offense. It's just been the defense. When you get the Big East Player of the Year, hold him to 7 points. In the USC game, you have Boogie Ellis, a guy who averages 18 points a game. He goes 3 of 12 shooting for 6 points. So MSU's just been locked in defensively, which the last month is where things kind of fell apart, where their offense was turning up, but their defense was kind of letting loose. But that's why it feels like you get out of the Big Ten, all of a sudden you're not facing a 7-1 guy every night, where that's your weakness, and you have to help out a lot down low.
You can play a little. It gives you a little variation, right? You can
And
play a little different.
Marquette, just like my brother, who's not the biggest basketball guy, he was just noticing. He goes, Marquette's playing 5 out. They have no one down low. What are they hoping to accomplish?
Terrible offense.
Right.
I hate that.
Literally, no one down low. It was just like, and yeah, it was just, it's like that goes well for MSU. If you're just going to, with this team, like, yeah, please play on the outside.
When you think about the interior here for Michigan State, I thought we saw some really, this is the flash in the pan now, I thought we saw some really nice plays out of Mady Sissoko yesterday.
Mady Sissoko, yeah, the dream line that I've wanted from him all season, 8, 10, and 2. Like,
and
that's
2.
all,
a couple steals, too. Throw them in there.
But it's like, that's all I want. And then the unsung hero of the first 2 games has been Carson Cooper. Guy averages 6 minutes a game, has been playing 15 minutes a game and coming up huge because he's a better defender than Jackson Kohler. That's where if you need offense, you go with Kohler. If you need defense, you go with Cooper as your backup 5. And he's come in and providing points, getting dunks, just providing those quality backup minutes that, has just kind of been an unknown for this team throughout the year.
And I thought that yesterday's game for Michigan State, I really thought that this was, even winning without shooting the ball well, this is the kind of game that makes a team like Michigan State dangerous, right? And that's really like, you think about if they're able to add that legitimate interior where for Sissoko, like I was happy for him, I'm not going to lie. Like the guy's he showed a really good flash early on in the season, and then he went kind of AWOL. He was taking a little flack. He's kind of new to the game. He just doesn't have really good basketball sense. The hoops IQ just isn't there. And so, like, to see him have some success, I think is nice because I think that we forget that these are, at times, young men that are trying to feel their way through the world and with the internet and everything else. Like, he's not playing my team. So what do I care if he goes off? And it was just a really, really nice, like, minimal opportunities. It's not like they're going to draw anything up for you. But to capitalize on those is great. And when you have guys that are really bought into their roles and what they can do, man, I was just I was really happy for him yesterday individually. That's why I started with like, oh.
Yeah, no, and to have those 2 blocks on the end, playing with 4 fouls, still playing defense that aggressively. It's like you're towing a line here where you don't know, especially with the officiating, kind of how they went in streaks of where MSU had 10 straight fouls called on them to no Marquette fouls. So it's like you don't know where the officiating crew's at with their whistle at that point. So for Sissoko to not let the 4 fouls bother him, just like, if you pause in the paint, I am going to volleyball spike this.
If for Tyson Walker, a guy that, didn't hit a 3 all game.
No one did.
Yeah, right, 2 for 16, right? Who really did? A.J. Hogard was 1 for 1, and Joey Hauser was 1 for 3. To shoot it that poorly from distance, and a team that, as we were talking to Graham Couch, last week before the USC game, and it's like, hey, like this team has sometimes lived and died by the long ball. To be able to win different ways is very impressive. To take out a Marquette team, the number 2 seed, the Big East player of the year. Now, mind you, the Big East does have 3 teams in the Sweet 16, so I'm not gonna come out here and slander. I saw some slander of the Big East, and I said, look, man. The Big East
they're
basketball
still doing
schools,
good.
They're still alive. Like, I don't know why we're talking about Big East this big. They got 3 teams.
Because at times UConn has looked like the best team in the nation.
What a bounce back for their program, right?
Danny Hurley finally winning some tournament games, making it past the first weekend, I believe, for the first time.
It's good that one Hurley can because Bobby sure can't. No, both brothers make the tournament. I mean, come on. What are you going to do there? But I just, good for Michigan State. There was something that I saw. Brendan Quinn, the scribe, friend of the show. Love that dude. Great hair. He tweets out this yesterday. Tom Izzo is heading to his 15th Sweet 16. They covered that in the broadcast. Some perspective. He has more Sweet 16 appearances than all but 17 programs in college basketball. He has more Sweet 16 appearances than 12 of the 14 Big Ten programs. Your only exceptions are the Hoosiers have 22, the Wolverines have 17. Outside of that, Tom Izzo by 15 Sweet 16s in 25 years.
I am spoiled rotten as a basketball fan, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. And even in that game, like Malik Hall, who did not have the best game, missed 3 wide open 3-pointers throughout the game. Comes up huge in that last minute, getting that offensive rebound. And you can, video is circulating on Twitter. Hall gets the offensive rebound with like 1:30 left, passes out to Hogard. They call a timeout, and Tom Izzo's just fist pumping, chest bumping Mady Sissoko after an offensive rebound.
got to have it.
Like,
You got to have it.
Because that's Izzo knows. That's his favorite thing. It's just like, if you rebound the ball, control the clock, you win the game. That's where it all starts.
Mm-hmm. Rebounding wins championships. Danny in Brighton is on the phone. Danny, good morning to my friend. How are you, partner?
Anthony, I am always amazing. My friends, happy Monday and happy vernal equinox day. Woo!
Excuse me?
It's the vernal equinox. It's the first day of spring. Did you not know that's what it's called? It's called the vernal equinox. And then when it shifts over, then in the fall, it's called the autumnal equinox. So there's
yes, the equinox. Do you know where my moons are at right now? What time were you born?
I thought you were sitting on them. I have no idea.
Sorry, really
What did you
into
ask me?
really into astrology. What's your sign? No, I'm teasing. I'm not. That's a big red flag. You hear anybody talk about astrology? I'm going the other way. I can't do it.
No,
Don't be rubbing any rocks together. Not with it. Don't be burning stuff. It's weird. Get out of here. You didn't have a bad day because your moon was in orbit. Nobody cares. Suck it up. Do better. Try harder. No one cares. So what's going on, man? How are you?
Marquette did not have a bad day because their moons were in order. They had a bad day because Michigan State made them look like garbage, and that was really impressive. And as I told Dan, I could not have been more wrong about an analysis of a game because I could not believe how Michigan State basically made, and that's the best team in the Big East, and the Big East is doing well, and Michigan State made them look like garbage. They looked awful.
They look bad. They look bad for 40 minutes, but the Big East has 3 teams in the Sweet 16. We have 1.
Yeah,
we got to. From a conference standpoint, we got a good matchup there.
It's interesting because I really didn't know that it was a good matchup. I thought Marquette would just keep jacking up shots and forcing Michigan State to turn into the offensive game and forsake the D, but they did not. They found their identity, and I don't know if it's, Ryan would attest to this. I don't know where Izzo would rate this, but I have never seen him more fired up than like right at the end when that game was over, and you could just see him just fist bumping his ass off on the sidelines as the clock was winding down. The dude was in tears.
Well, you knew that this one meant a lot too because
he also cries all the time.
He's emotional. He does. He's not afraid to let it out once in a while.
Every tournament win. I think
we talked about this with Graham Couch. Like is there a mounting pressure because this team has failed to make it out of the first weekend in recent years? And Graham had said he's aware. He knows these games mean a lot. They mean a lot. It's one thing to get there. It's another thing to stay there. Right, and to keep winning, and for your staff to that first game, you do your study, and you go through your walkthroughs, you get your scouting report, and you're trying to figure it all out, and your kids are trying to process all this information. Then you win. And it's like, okay, we don't have a lot of time. We got to do this all over again for another team right now. So everything you just knew, you can kind of forget. Let's go into this, and then you're trying to piece together information on the scouting report of what kind of offenses, for example, what does Marquette run that you might have seen somewhere else. Because one thing you'll notice a lot of time, especially in conference play, is that when other teams are bringing the ball up the floor and calling out their offense, you'll see players on the court that will yell to their coaching staff what play is coming, or coaching staffs yelling to their players something that they see, that they know what's coming right away. You don't get a lot of that familiarity. So there might be a couple of sets that the opposition will run that you might recognize that, hey, this is what Indiana did, or this is what we do, and we call it this, they call it that. So be on the lookout. Conceptually speaking, it's quick to turn that over, and you start to win a couple games. Now you got a little bit of rest, a little bit more time to prepare before Thursday. You feel pretty good.
Oh, they should feel good. And what I found interesting is what you're talking about. I thought that, and again, Michigan State basically just told Marquette, you do whatever you want. We're not letting you do anything. And for probably 34 out of 40 minutes, Marquette basically just stood around and tried to go one-on-one. They had like that brief stretch in the second half where they moved the ball around, side to side, moved it fast, created spaces, and had opportunities. But, second game in a row where Michigan State makes, the conference player of the year, Tyler Kolek, look, he was awful, and he was awful. They made him look bad, and he compounded that by being bad. It was just bad on bad. And interesting other thing is that even though Michigan State did not shoot well, they stayed within themselves and like, you know what, this is who we are, and we are now a defensive team, and that's how we're going to play. And I always think that when the Big Ten gets in, their plotting, we'll call it football style, sometimes doesn't match well with other teams, but Michigan State has that ability to play defense against anybody, and they're now a hard matchup for anybody because of how physical they are, and I don't know how many other physical teams there are, so of course I'm sure I'll be wrong about that. But I could not have been more impressed with how the Sparty played. By the way, that's their first Sweet 16 since 2019, as I'm sure Ryan knows. And
it was only 4 years ago. It's not like they were taking horse and buggy to the arena.
Nope. No, but still, but like you said earlier, when you have expectations, 4 years could be 40 years.
Amen. Hey, Danny and Brighton, we appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you, partner.